Hola, Nerdearla 2025. Soy Juan. I'm thrilled to welcome Donald Knuth. He's the author of the Art of Computer Programming book series. He's the creator of Tech Typesetting System, Turing Award winner, and a pioneer in the field of computer science. His work has inspired generations of people, and that includes me, of course. Don, it's a real honor to have you here with us today. Thank you so much.
I hope I don't disappoint you. You seem you might have a better opinion of me than well, anyway.
I believe that is impossible.
Okay.
But it's funny because I prepared a talk back in 2019. The talk was about you because I'm a big fan. And somehow that talk, I'm so happy I did that because led me all the way to be here today with the opportunity of talking to you. So I'm so grateful about that.
Well, anyway, fun is the name of the game. So, yeah.
I believe so. So I have a few questions. My first question is, do you mind telling us what you are currently working on?
Yeah, well, actually, it's kind of exciting. For the first time in my life, I'm running 832 processors. And I was just watching to see, you know, some of them say closed by remote host, and the other ones say connection reset by peer. But I'm using screen so I can get back on all of these and get going again. So anyway, I have a problem involving night's tours that I saw was going to take a lot of computer time, and so I asked my friends at Stanford if they could find any computers that weren't busy this week, and sure enough, we found a cluster on which I could start with 32 cores on each machine, so I could run on 25 machines, 32 cores each, and I started them all out, and well, I was just checking out how far along they are, and maybe tomorrow I'll have my results.
That's amazing. So I'm a nerd, so I'm sorry, but I will be asking nerd questions, I guess. So how this works, you just SSH into one machine, you put some binary in there, and that binary gets copied. How is the mechanics of that?
Yeah, okay, so yeah, I do SSH, well, 25 times. And
okay.
I mean, I can read you the script I had here. It was because I had to do it 25 times. So SSH, make a directory in the local file system because AFS loses. If I'm starting a lot of shells, AFS doesn't pass tokens into each shell. So I make a local directory. I connect to it. Then I copy all of the files I need, the executables that I need to this local file, and then I say for each. For each V 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, for each U 0, 1, 2, 3, launch a shell based on $u $v.sh and to store the answers on this local machine, and then I cross my fingers and go to the next machine.
It's funny because some of our fantasies when we work is like people like you doing things completely different. And as I hear, I can tell that you use the same tools that we usually do for work. and that's so satisfying to hear.
Well, I don't probably use them as intelligently, but I try to keep it simple enough that I don't have to know every operating system and all the details. It's something that I'm writing about. If somebody wants to read the project I'm working on, you have to figure out how to look at pre-fascicle 8A of the art of computer programming. So this is you go to my homepage, but I don't think I have a link to it. But I have links to other. Maybe I do. Anyway, you have to get to this file fasc8a.ps.gz, and that's the current draft of my writing about Knight's tours, and I mean Hamiltonian cycles, and I'm talking about Knight's tours at the moment. You know what Knight's tours are?
I'm afraid I don't know. I need to be honest.
Oh, that's okay. So on a chessboard, it's possible to move a knight 64 times. And,
oh yes, of course, yes.
And hit every square. Okay, so this is a problem that fascinated me ever since, before I knew about computers. And one of the first things when I did learn to program as an undergraduate, thought, okay, now I'll be able to figure out how many Knight's tours there are. And
Yes,
but soon I found out that was going to be hopeless because there were so many of them. Well, eventually, however, computers got faster, and I learned a few more things, and so now I'm writing about how to look at every Knight's tour, and so I call this a census method, and I took a census, and on my Mac, in less than 2 days, I could generate all the Knight's tours. It's basically 13 trillion.
wow. See, I now that you described it, yes,
Okay.
I know about it. Do you play chess?
Oh yeah, but the last time I played with my grandson, it was even. And I play with my son, and he always beats me. But I used to.
I guess that is also satisfying to be beaten by your grandson.
Yeah.
So I guess this work is part of volume 4 then?
4C.
4C.
Yeah.
And
Volume 4B came out a year or two ago, and we've got the third printing in press as of a month or so ago. So yeah, there's a lot more stuff than anybody has time to read.
and do you know how many sub volumes volume 4 will have?
No.
Not yet. Okay, that's fine. That's fair. We don't need to know.
Yeah. I'm trying to cut, but there's too much good stuff, so I have to. So anyway, I'm learning how not to put everything in, but with Knight's tours, I really wanted to do that because it's one of the most, well, not only is it something in my own life, but it's one of the oldest, historically people have been studying these for more than 1,200 years, going back to Persia and I'm trying to think. I'm blanking on it now. It's the area between India and Pakistan that where they're trying to figure out who owns it. Kashmir. So anyway, nice tours have been studied since the 800s, and there's a continuous story about it. It's not that well known, but there's a lot of history there.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So I was thinking about asking you the fact that the art of computer programming was originally, was a single book back in 1962, but happily for all of us, that changed. So I was hoping you can tell a little bit about the story, about how the project evolved.
Yeah, so 1962, you got the year right. I was a second-year grad student, and I'd been interested in writing compilers, and the word got out that maybe I could write a book about compilers, and so representative of the publisher Addison Wesley came to have lunch with me, and it amazed me that they asked me, what you like to for Addison Wesley, and here I am, a grad student, but Addison Wesley was the publisher of all my favorite textbooks, and so I was thrilled by the idea. I came home from the lunch and I jotted down the 12 chapter titles that I thought would be. It's a book about compilers, but I gotta bring up some basics. So chapter 12 was compilers, but chapter 11 was I think like context-free languages or something like this. And anyway, chapter 1 was introduction, and we had data structures in there. So I still have this sheet of paper, yellow tablet paper, where I wrote these 12 chapters, and that was 1962. So now I'm still writing. I'm in chapter 7.
I hope that sheet of paper is on a safe, because it's very important for the world.
I think the Computer History Museum has it somewhere, yeah. But I was going to say I went through a rough draft of all 12 chapters. I had generated some 3,000 pages of handwritten copy before I started typing, and then I started typing, and I realized that my idea of ratio between handwriting and book was way off. I thought those 3,000 pages were going to compress down to a single book of about 700 pages, but when I sent the first chapter to the publishers, they said, "Whoa, now what's going on here?" So we had some meetings. Fortunately, they sent it out to a few people to read, and it looked like they still wanted to publish it. So if you look online, you can find somewhere the brochure that was put out in 1968, showing 7 volumes, but you see them only from the side. And at that time, volume 1 had been published, and they were imagining all the others. So now, well, I just got a note a couple of days ago that the volume 3, the second edition, the 51st printing is going to be published in September, and every new printing, I bring it up to date with all the errors that have been reported to me. This will. My work is cut out for me next week is to incorporate several dozen errors that were reported since the 50th printing, which was actually only 5 or 6 months ago.
Well, that's amazing, and yeah, I'm fascinated, but the story. Um, I I'm amazed about your, such a massive body of work. Uh, of course, wouldn't happen unless you had a tremendous amount of dedication and focus and motivation
And helpers and friends
and helpers, of course. Yes, of course.
yeah,
Um,
environment.
yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, but you do it one word at a time, so it takes a while.
yeah, yeah. There is a quote I like. I first heard it from Grant Sanderson, and the quote is, "Action precedes motivation." I don't know if you have heard it.
What is it? Heck,
Action precedes motivation, and it's a little bit counterintuitive because
I,
you would think
I see.
that you need motivation to take action,
Yeah, no,
right?
no,
But this idea is different. It's no, no, no. You take action, and that motivates
I see.
you.
Well,
So I was wondering what's your own intuition about motivation, I guess.
yeah, well, I, I, what part of it is that I'm a bad estimator as to how long something's going to take. So, I think something is going to be fairly easy. Then I start it, and then I get interested. So then I'm motivated. I want to finish it because I can see it's important and going to be, going well. But in order to be motivated, I have to realize I have to be stupid enough to not to realize how much work it's going to be. Um, if you understand that part, that
Yes.
but the main motivation originally in 1962 is that at that time um, I I hadn't invented anything myself, but I know that the literature was very poor, very there all kinds of things were known to a few people, but hardly anybody knew them all, and I couldn't think of anybody else who would tell that story because all the people who had invented the stuff were going to exaggerate their own stuff. But so I figured, oh, hey, I like to write. I was a I was working on student newspaper publications many years, and so I said, okay, uh, computers. So, computer world needs somebody who's going to tell an unbiased story about all these methods that are known. And that was my motivation, that there was a need for it, and I enjoyed when somebody else, when I could influence somebody else positively. So, so I figured, okay, I'll write this book, and it was only going to be one book, and 12 about compilers.
Yeah, and I guess the world was hungry about, reading about that because the book was all the books such a success. So you were on spot on your intuition, I guess.
Yeah, computing. I mean, I was, I was a student, so there were a lot of great older people who've been doing computing for a while, but still there were very few. But it was in very early days as far as
Yeah.
as any organized presentation.
And you have mentioned many times, and this is surprising to me, that you pull many times all-nighters to finish projects or advance your projects, which makes me think you probably you have long sessions of work. How do you?
Well, that was when I was younger. Um, although I did do an all-nighter for the first time this year. I think it was last
Oh,
Tuesday.
really?
Yeah, yeah. I had this. I, I I'm writing my drafts about about nights tours, and every day I was going, and I still hadn't finished page 20. So I've got a whole bunch of stuff that I was excited about finishing, and I said, okay, today I'm going to finish it. What the heck? And I did. But my goal was to finish it before the faculty lunch on last Tuesday morning. And the faculty lunch started at 12 o'clock, and I finished at 12:15, and then had to bike to school. But I wanted to finish before I went to school, because at school I could print out what I had done. And anyway, I had started out the previous day, and I went without sleep until Tuesday afternoon at that time. But that's not good for my health, and I made sure that I caught up on it, and I'm not going to catch any viruses from lack of sleep now.
I hope so. And then I guess you follow up with a good rest, I imagine, for you to be prepared for the next deep session, right?
Well, I usually go to sleep as soon as I'm tired. Sometimes, I told you about, I have a siesta, but sometimes I have 3 siestas in the same day.
Oh, that's amazing. And the story goes that you correct me if this is wrong, but back in 1978, you had planned to spend a sabbatical year in Chile to learn Spanish, talking about siestas.
No, right. Right. And some people told me that Chile wasn't the greatest place to learn Spanish as far as the accent was concerned. But anyway, yeah, I visited Chile in '77 and met some people that I really liked, and thought this was going to, it was so exciting. It's like it's sort of South America is kind of a mirror of North America, except everything is bigger. They have mountains. The mountains are taller. They have redwood trees, but the redwood trees are older. They have they have wine, all this kind of stuff. They have deserts, but the deserts are drier. So I was all set. But then in February, I learned about the existence of digital typography. I learned that it was possible to make books with pixels, and the books would actually look good. It wouldn't be just an approximation to a book, but it was possible to, with the current printing technology that I just learned about in February that year, to solve one of the biggest problems was that the printing industry had gone to hell in the '70s. Everyone went away from the old methods of printing and switched over to photographic imitations, which worked fine for magazines and newspapers, but were mathematics. And so when I learned that that really I should spend my sabbatical year writing software, I had to stay. I had to stay at Stanford Lab because we and also I had also facilities here at Xerox where I could where I could do the quality work that I needed special equipment. So yeah, that never happened.
And did you eventually learn Spanish, or
No,
that is the price that the world had to pay to get tech?
that's true. I hate to tell you how bad my knowledge of Spanish is, but but
No,
but,
you don't need to tell anything. I mean, the work that you did was
well,
absolutely outstanding, and I'm so happy that you changed your plans.
yeah, but I, you know, at least I did get to spend a couple of great weeks in Spain. I guess 3 weeks, courtesy of BBVA, the Frontiers of Science project some years ago, and I never got to Valencia, although our train went by there, and I eat a lot of oranges from Valencia. But
Yes, it's a beautiful place, and I have free time if you want free Spanish lessons.
yeah, okay, but so basically, I 1 week in Madrid, 1 week in Barcelona, and a couple of days in the south, seeing the Moorish
Hmm.
parts. Yeah.
So, going back to tech, one of the things that I really like is how you approach the project, in the sense that you didn't just go and start from scratch, but you went and learned a lot of the traditional typesetting, and you talked to experts in the field. Um, and I've heard an interview, you were telling the story, and you were saying, how eager our engineers are usually to start things from scratch. And I really wanted to ask you, why do you think that engineers like so much starting things from scratch?
Well, I can't speak for everybody, but I guess it's once you see that technology has changed, you think, okay, well, now everything else is broken, and you have to rethink everything. But it's true, you do have to rethink everything, but the mistake is to belittle all of the work that's done before, and how much refinements are there. So I had seen other examples where so anyway, I love history, and I love to see how other people discovered things.
Mm-hmm.
I try to get into the head of the inventors of things. I can't do it perfectly, but at least by trying, this gives me more idea how to invent stuff myself. If I the more case studies I see of what things were like when they started, and so I'm lucky at Stanford. They have this tremendous collection in the rare book room of fine printing, and also in the San Francisco area, a lot of really talented people who. So I got to meet them, and really appreciate what they knew. And finally, actually, after I was going to finish this all in 1 year, and well, it was 3 years later, I guess, when I had the second edition of Volume 2 done, which was going to be the beautiful result of all this typography work. And I opened the book, and it was the worst day of my life, because it didn't look as good as I expected it would. And so I still wasn't done. And my friends in typography world said, hey, nobody they knew had ever done an apprenticeship of less than 5 years. Why should I expect in 3 years? So even though I did look at the history, and I tried to learn from what was known, I uh, again, I was a bad estimator of how much work it was going to be in order to do the job right, and that's when I met the world leaders of letter forms, and and had the great fortune that they wouldn't dismiss me as a crackpot, and so they would actually teach me how to fix my errors.
What job? This is kind of low level tech, but I said it already. I'm a huge fan. One of the concepts of tech that I really like is the concept of glue that you came up. I think it's a perfect example of bringing something new, because of course there is no glue in traditional typesetting. So you were able to innovate in something different, and it's so simple and so elegant that I really love it. And I was wondering if you can share how and when you came up with the idea of adding glue to tech.
I see. Well, I guess it was well known, the idea of expanding to fill a line. That was done by machines, starting with you could take springs and get things to go, and so the idea of justification that was already there, but they didn't have the idea of also compressibility. So stretching and shrinking both, and then what I needed was some crude approximation to what looks good. I mean, I need to have something to measure to optimize. So I have to model badness of different settings, and so I experimented with a bunch of formulas. I don't know. There's a book by Agatha Christie called and then which one was it? I guess it was the one where I guess it was the Murder on the Orient Express, where everybody's the murderer. But anyway, this book, I found a few paragraphs from that, and I just tried typesetting those paragraphs lots of different ways until I got some experience with a model for what looks good, and then I could use some ideas that my students gave me in one of our seminars. So it's all a collaboration thing, like
of course, yeah.
It started really with music. My friend Leland Smith at the Stanford AI Lab had the absolute best system for making beautiful music with computer help. And one of the big problems was to decide where do you turn the page, and how many notes into a bar. So he had this problem of trying to pack notes into bars of music. He showed it to me one day, and I thought, oh, this is an interesting problem. I bet you I could use dynamic programming for that. And I showed it to my students in our problem seminar, and I said, here's this music music problem. Let's work on a solution to Professor Smith's question. And one of the students said, you know, this doesn't only work for music. You could also use it to English text. And
Wow.
he said, what you're talking about? Oh, yeah, you're right. And so that's what eventually led to text.
But I'm trying to understand timing here. So that conversation happened when you were considering starting the tech, like before or during?
No, that conversation about music was probably a year before I did anything with it. But it was in the back of my mind. It was in the back of my mind that, you know, that could have helped with that.
Wow, wow. And those words probably influenced and changed the world eventually.
Well, I don't know, but the point is, it was really a joint. It was a joint thing. We've got, you get a lot of bright people and put them together in a room and stir, and
yeah,
you can get new solutions to problems.
Yeah. Speaking about problems, there is one thing, one anecdote that I love so much. So it's related to Metafont, and the fact that there was a particular letter that was harder to model with mathematics than other letters. And I was wondering if you can share a little bit of that story.
Well, that letter is one that I needed if I didn't change jobs, because because Stanford University, the name of Stanford begins with this letter. So I would use, so if I couldn't include that letter in my book, I would, you know, and people have written novels without the letter, without particular letters. That was an all-nighter. I stayed up trying all kinds of mathematical models to draw something that would look like a good letter S. And I came home finally. In those days, to get computers, I had to go up to the AI lab in the hills and use it at night, because time sharing meant that you couldn't really use it very much during the day, but not enough. But only a few people were awake during the night. So, but anyway, so I spent all night trying to get something that looked like the S's in a real book. And it just looked really ugly. And I showed my wife when I came home my best effort, and she said, "Don, why don't you make it S-shaped?" And what does it mean, S-shaped? And so I was tearing my hair. Okay, so finally a couple of days later, I figured out that what I needed was an interesting problem in geometry, how to draw a particular ellipse with a tangent in a certain way, and I eventually wrote a paper about this. It's called The Letter S, and published it in the I guess the Math Intelligencer. And it was, they allowed me to typeset that paper myself. It was fun, because eventually I solved the problem, and I got to. But still, I have to tell you, my original design was nowhere as good as my final design. So I found myself once in Prague, in what's called Czechia now, thank goodness, but it was Czechoslovakia at that time,
Mm-hmm.
this was before the Iron Curtain had fallen, and my fonts were used in Prague because they were free,
Mm-hmm.
and so on all the trams of the street, some computer guy had printed up the timetable that show. So you go to the middle of the street and you can look up and say, when is the next tram going to come by on this street, and the schedule was all printed with my own fonts, and the Saturday schedule was for, I think the Czech word is Subotu or something like this, and there was a bold S for Subotu, and it was such an ugly S, I couldn't stand it. And here was my, I was spoiling the streets of a wonderful city because I still didn't have a good S.